Let's get to more topical stuff with NWSL because the news last week.
You mentioned it. A new division's applied.
A new division. So when we all hear second division, we're like the pro rel, the drooling begins because everybody.
it started. We
finally,
did it.
You know, they got free agency and with everything. So maybe this can be more like the European model. But this is, at least from what I understand, it's a little bit more
being sold for sure,
tempered and it is just more of a reserve league than a second division that anybody could get relegated to.
They're
right?
very much comparing it to similarly MLS Next Pro in the soccer world. Minor league baseball really, I think, is the best comparison for it because it will be affiliated with current NWSL teams. Injured players can go down. You can have this kind of flux. I mean, think about all these random tournaments that the league has. Summer Cup last year when they had no players rostered. They were calling retired players, hey, can you join our squad? Are you still playing?
We had Nicole Baxter on the show.
Exactly.
She's like, oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I gotta clock out from my job at EA and let me go play.
She's like, I ain't built for this. I didn't know they wanted me back.
And it's like, wait, you're going to sign me just as a training player? Oh, no, wait, I'm starting in the game. Like, there's a big flux there. This will hopefully eliminate that. I think that's the plan and the goal.
Can I ask you?
I don't know if it's going to happen that quickly, though.
Can I ask you a question, though? Do we need it? There's Northern Pro League, the Northern Super League. Europe is there. There's a bunch of teams in Europe. Europe's pretty big. Also, USLW. I mean, do we need this division? What is this?
And the WPSL Pro League just announced prior to this that they were going to try to be D2 as well instead of D3. So it's another one.
Yeah. We're going to have.
Why do we? I mean, obviously, the growing the talent. I would love to see all of these teams have academies associated with them so we could build more talent, and that would be wonderful. But at some point, the product becomes watered down. Why couldn't the NWSL just loan injured players, those players that would go down to the USL?
That would be logical. There's no connection, though, so they wouldn't do that, right? It'd be entirely different leagues.
But I feel that it's a little bit easier than starting a new league, no? Coming up with some type of agreement.
The idea, I think, is to have this bridge between youth college players and the professional league. But the logical step for me is academies. Have youth programs. Have academy teams that are under Gotham. That way you can start when you're 11, when you're 12, but you're nowhere near ready to be a professional. And you can play up until you're 18, then still go to college, and then still come back and play in the NWSL. That would make more sense.
But why? I don't know. To me, it's like this feels very MLS-y. This feels like we need to protect the brand more than this would be a smart move for everyone involved, because NWSL would benefit from having players that are more prepared, like what you're talking about, having a U23, having a U18, having a U16, more prepared for the professional game, more easily developed for the professional game. And when you're coming back from injury, go play for the Tampa Bay. What are they? Sun?
Tampa Bay Sun.
Go play for the Tampa Bay for a couple of weeks and then come back to us fully prepared, match fit, and ready to go, versus having to create a whole other league, which MLS has done this for many years, create more stuff, and that's less money that ends up in the players' pockets.
Oh, absolutely. And the timeline for this, they announced that they want to do this in 2026.
Yeah.
That is next year. On top of the league already saying, we're going to have Denver come in. That seems to be all right. We can let them walk on their own. But Boston is a toddler. We got to hold their hand because they've already been through so much.
They can't even name their own team.
Exactly. So they're trying to come in as well, plus 8 new teams. So that is now 10 teams under the NWSL umbrella starting in 2026.
Yeah. It feels a little bit
How is that even possible?
It feels a little bit like the interest is in consolidating or even hoarding talent so that to compete with the USL Super League and Northern Super League.
But that's not to compete. That's to stifle. A move like that stifles
maybe
other leagues.
Sure. I mean, if you hurt your competitor,
right?
You obviously and it benefits you.
The way you should hurt your competitors by saying, "Fine, we have other leagues that will compete for talent, but if we pay our talent more, they'll come here."
Yeah.
And in the women's game, that makes a huge difference when you look at what the median player gets paid. It's not what we on the show. We'll talk about Trinity Rodman's contract. We'll talk about Sophia Smith.
Wilson.
Sophia Wilson. Yeah.
We'll talk about Sophia Wilson. Thank you. I mean, we need.
Good thing I'm here.
Yeah, you see that, Ian Wright? Watch it back. I'm just saying, watch out. She got the info. We talk about the players who get the massive contracts, right? The Sanchez's, right? We talk about the big ones. We don't ever talk about like this player got re-signed, but they're barely making more than they used to. And they're making $50,000, $60,000 a year or whatever that number is. We don't talk about that. That raises that level if you stop trying to create all these other metrics and all these other systems and all these other leagues to just keep players from going elsewhere. Just pay your players more and they won't go elsewhere.
And have better infrastructure within those teams, right? Like if you have better training staff and you have better facilities and better environment for these players, they're not going to want to go to the USL Super League. I think that's a little bit of the scare tactic for the NWSL right now of, okay, we now have this competitor league in our own country. We also have the Northern Super League that launched in Canada. They're a competitor. Think of how many players left the NWSL to go to the NSL. So they said, okay, let's figure out what we can do to keep players here at the highest level instead of just...
NWSL was like jail bars? No, okay. We're brainstorming. We're brainstorming.
We got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And instead of just taking a step back and letting things develop how they are, because NWSL it launched in 2013. All these other leagues are less than a year old.
Yeah.
You already have a leg up on them. Let it breathe a little. Let things happen. Get development involved in these things. It's not going to happen.
You have a leg up and let it breathe. My brain. I was like, damn, bro. Get the stirrups out.
Anyway.
Yeah, you knew the show you were coming to, dude.